Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Game Over Winnipeg. My name is Brady. I'll be your host here tonight. I'm joined by my fantastic guest, Kishore Hari. Kishore and I go back a little bit. He used to host on the Jet-Centric podcast. If you've been following myself as well as Liz through our kind of podcast journeys, you'll know Kishore, I'm sure. But it's fantastic to get him back on the show here, considering he's been in chat more than a few times. Kishore, how are you feeling tonight?
How do you not feel good after that performance? Shocking performance, too.
Yeah. No.
Who would expect that after a back-to-back, especially after the kind of stinker, even though we came out with a win against the Sabres? It was not a fun game to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this game, the Jets came into this one with a lot of excuses handy to them. You know, everyone's kind of going through their flu. The flu's kind of going through their team a bunch. They're on the second half of a back-to-back where they didn't play great in the first one. So coming into this one, I was, hoping that we didn't have to see the Jets do their classic Jets find a way to win kind of thing. But wow, like what a fantastic game. Like I you can't not sit here and feel confident and excited and happy to see, what the Jets are going to do come, playoff time, playing against Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, all these guys who, the Penguins aren't necessarily doing fantastic this year. But they're still a extremely dangerous team. I was just sitting here gushing about the game, the entire time. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say it was amazing to watch unless you're a Penguins fan.
Yeah.
If you're a Penguins fan, it must have been one of the most boring, frustrating things to watch because it was the most complete Jets game that I've seen this season. From top to bottom, they got consistent play all around. And when you take two penalties and they're all on technicalities,
mm-hmm.
that shows you how clean of a game they played on top of it being a complete game too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like again, all around Jets played incredible. And, that actually kind of leads me into my first question. I was going to say, would you say that this was a game where the Jets kind of imposed their will? They played their game and did exactly what they wanted? Or would you say that maybe the Penguins didn't step up to the plate enough, or kind of a mixture of the two?
I think it's a mixture of the two. I never thought the Penguins got into the game. You could see they weren't engaged throughout the game. I thought the Zucker fight where he engaged with Dylan kind of showed a little bit of desperation because of how flat
mm-hmm.
they were. So I think you can't discount just how out of sorts that team played. I mean, here's a stat for you. Sidney Crosby, 0 shots on goal.
Yeah.
Evgeny Malkin, 1 shot on goal. That's not how the Penguins normally play. So I don't think we can discount that. But that being said, the Jets really controlled the entire flow of play. You could really see how the systems that have been put in place now with the fourth defenseman joining the rush really put the Penguins on their back heel. And even though in that first period, especially in the first 10 minutes, we saw some Jets turnovers at the blue line,
mm-hmm.
as the game progressed, the Jets really did start to have their system where all of a sudden you get a zone exit. They come with speed into the neutral zone. Fourth defenseman joins the rush, creates pressure on the Penguins defense, create lanes. Almost all the Jets goals came from that kind of flow into the zone. And then the Penguins are just on their back heel trying to exit the zone, and Jets are throwing it right back in.
Mm-hmm.
That was an impose your will game. The reason you can't say it's a total impose your will game for the Jets, it's Dave Radek in that. It's never a fully impose the Jets will game unless Hellebuck is in there. But still,
that's true. I mean, the Penguins only had the one goal, and you can't even blame Dave Radek for that goal. As much as we love to praise DeMello and say, talk about how underrated he is, man, did he look like a bit of a fool on that goal? But again, that's just one play where things don't go your way and everything kind of falls apart. You could equally get as mad, against who was it? Adam Lowry, who kind of, maybe made a pass when he probably shouldn't have in the offensive zone. But again, tonight was a game I found where the Jets didn't make a ton of mistakes. And even when they did make those mistakes, they were able to clean up the mess that they kind of made. That was one of the issues I found the other night against Buffalo, was that whenever the Jets made mistakes, it was just a disaster. Everything was falling apart. Everyone was falling to try and pick everything back up. Whereas tonight it seemed like they, one, didn't allow themselves to make as many mistakes, and then two, when those mistakes happened, it was a calm, cool, collected, let's build back up from this, put the house of cards back together. Before we continue here, I do have to do a little ad read. So, hey, think you know which way it's going to go? Make your bet with Sports Interaction. Whether it's hockey, football, or basketball, Sports Interaction has you covered. Bet pregame, live and play, or on one of our many prop bets. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all the sports betting has to offer. Want to bet? Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 plus. Please play responsibly. All right, Kishore, before we hop back into the game, I just want to give you the opportunity to, introduce yourself a little bit more to the audience here. For those who don't know, Kishore is currently living in the States. You're in San Francisco at the moment. Is that correct?
That's right.
And so it's not frequent that you find Jets fans from anywhere other than Winnipeg. I'm just curious. Feel free to share. How did you become a Jets fan?
Yeah, so I've always been the token American Jets fan for as long as I know. And I was actually a Jets 1.0 fan. The first, I should back up and say I was born in Buffalo. That's why there's the Bills helmet here. But I really grew up outside of Pittsburgh. That's where I played hockey. And I didn't go to a pro game until I was a teenager. And the first game I saw, first Penguin game I ever saw, this was Lemieux Yager days. I think it was like 30 years ago now, because it was like December of 92. It might've been January of 93. They played Winnipeg and it was Solani's rookie year. Solani scored. The problem is that the Penguins had Yager, Francis, and Lemieux, and they also all scored. So the Jets got routed, but it was awesome to watch that team play and to see Solani score. And I became a fan of that team. This up here behind me is my first Winnipeg Jets hat that I bought in 93.
That's awesome.
That I still have 30 years later. And so I totally fell in love with the team back in the mid 90 days. And that's when I was like first playing hockey and stuff, and just kind of stayed as a fan ever since.
Awesome. That's great to hear. I'm not surprised when you say Teemu Solani scored in the game that you went to go see. Coming back to the game today. I thought one of the interesting things today was that the second line, the Scheifele, Wheeler, and Perfetti line played what I thought a fantastic game. If the Jets are going to play this style where they have this big line up top, they need some support from their second line. And surprisingly, again, while Cole Perfetti was, potentially a game time decision, he ended up playing tonight, even despite, the illnesses that is going around the team that he had, yesterday as well too. I thought that line had a fantastic, outing tonight. Obviously, Mark Scheifele almost gets the hat trick. What did you see from both of the top lines, and what did you think about both of their games?
So coming off of last night, where the Perfetti, Scheifele, Wheeler line really got caved in, and we got, can we call it? I think some in the chat are calling it the Perfetti flu game.
Yeah,
I think we're going to call it that. I think it's the Perfetti flu game. I think we saw a really disciplined night from that line, and I loved the goal where Wheeler gives the amazing pass to Scheifele. If you watch that goal back, I kind of rewound it to watch it back. There's kind of a quick zone exit. DeMel gets the puck up. Perfetti has space, takes time and that draws a defenseman over. Or actually Pionk, sorry, it was Pionk that came in with the rush, pushed a defenseman out of the way with his rush with speed, gave Perfetti a little space. He makes that awesome cross ice pass to Wheeler. Wheeler does an amazing job kind of freezing the defense and then giving Scheifele the tap in. That's everything you want to see from them, because they got the clean zone entry on offense and then were able to use their playmaking ability. I think when we've seen that line struggle, we've seen it in two ways. One, they kind of get out muscled in their own end and really have trouble getting the puck out of their zone. And two, really coming in with speed into the offensive zone that gives Perfetti a little bit more space to do the playmaking he's done. I wonder, not to be a little overly analytic here, I wonder how much of that is they often get the Dylan Pionk pairing on with them as opposed to the Morrissey DeMello or Morrissey Schmidt, which we saw a little bit of in the second period. And that pairing isn't as helpful coming up the ice, I will say. They're not bad players, but they're just not as helpful. But we really saw Pionk really drive, especially on that goal, really well and create some space for that crew. And then what can you say about Mark Scheifele except just amazing?
Yeah,
that was one of the best disallowed goals I think I've ever seen. That tip was unreal. It just the goal scoring talent that we're seeing from him and not fade away, even as he kind of gets into his age 29 year. I can't say enough about him. And obviously, I think a lot has been said about Wheeler's resurgent season. And so, I think the Jets actually will go primarily as Hellebuck goes, but I think secondarily as this line goes, because their top line is going to be one of the top lines in the league.
I completely agree. And I'm glad you brought that goal up, because I feel like that goal is almost the perfect culmination of what Rick Bowness wants to see from his team. As well as just the ability to match kind of the system with the skill, with the effort and everything. Again, I know you kind of reiterated the goal, but just again, getting a clean zone exit from Pionk, coming up with the puck, passing it up to Cole Perfetti, who takes the time to analyze. And one of the things that we have to this is one thing I've noticed with Perfetti this year specifically. He is so good at making those passes as he comes into the zone and finding that third forward who's coming in high. Not a lot of teams really expect that. A lot of teams expect you to try and drive the net, maybe dump it in. But he is, his vision obviously is incredible. And especially on a night like tonight, like that goal was almost so perfect. And then again, Blake Wheeler comes in, has all the time in the world, so much space. First of all, he finds the open ice. And once he's there, again, he takes his patience with the puck and is able to draw both the goalie as well as the defenseman over. And then to top it off, the goal from Mark Scheifele, it wasn't like Mark Scheifele just had a tap in front of the net. Like he had to outmuscle the defender to get in position to tap that one in. Like that was just all around what I would say a perfect Rick Bowness drawn up goal. If he was drawing that up on the whiteboard, like that is exactly the complete and utter culmination of it. But then even, coming back, taking a step back from that, this entire game felt like the Rick Bowness blueprint. We've had a couple games this year where the discussion of the Rick Bowness blueprint is all around the team. There's the game early on against the Blues. There's one against the Bruins. And tonight just feels exactly like that. Again, one of the things I also wanted to just say that give them emphasize was their ability to throughout the game, it didn't feel like the Jets had any worry about what was going on. It felt like they kept dominating. They didn't let their foot off the gas, maybe a little bit in the third, but that's just kind of the standard, wrap this thing up. Let's get out of here, go back home. But yeah, I don't have anything to throw to you specifically on this. I just wanted to also say wow, just incredible. I am still just so astounded at this game by the Jets. It was fantastic.
To add on to the Rick Bowness blueprint, what I've been seeing the last dozen games that I've really loved is it's something that I call it's a throwback to when I played hockey. We used to play just ball street hockey in our cul-de-sac, and we used to do this thing with my friends. We just play every day. When somebody was getting frustrated, we just started yelling at them, "Are you frustrated? Are you frustrated?" And your job was to get under the skin of as many people as possible. And this game, and going back a dozen games, I think we've seen Pierre-Luc Dubois, Brendan Dillon, a bunch of Jets players get under the skin of opposing teams and them doing some really undisciplined things because of that open up items. So like that Scheifele goal that we've talked about started because Malkin took a undisciplined run at Dillon, and then Dillon pushed it Pionk up to Perfetti, and they buried it. But the other time that I saw this was on the PK when they tried to set a one timer to Malkin, and he whiffed on it and he banged his stick into the boards, because the PK, every time somebody got the puck on the Penguins, there was a Jet right on them. There was a Jet skating at them with speed everywhere they tried to move the puck. This is a power play with Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. Okay, like I get Chris Letang's not out there, but like they know how to move the puck. They know how to pass the puck. I was so impressed with how their ability to stifle and frustrate teams is sort of the opposite of what was happening when they went to Boston and were playing a really good game, but then Boston imposed their will on the Jets, and you could see the Jets starting to get frustrated. We saw the opposite here. Just one stat to kind of emphasize my point on the bonus blueprint, especially on the PK. Last year, Winnipeg, 28th in the league in PK, gave up 58 power play goals. This year, halfway through, we've given up 20. So we're on pace to give up 18 goals less this year. That's 6 to 8 wins just from PK improvement. We are the most improved PK in the entire league. That is the difference between us being a 1 or a 2 seed versus being a bubble team.
Did you lose me? Did you guys lose me on
Nope.
stream? Oh, sorry. I just randomly saw that I had no audio, so that was not good. But yeah, it's just incredible to see the difference that the Jets have had around the vibe of the team.
Since you're talking about vibes, I'm going to bring up our favorite topic. Has anyone had as much impact on the NHL season as Paul Maurice? And I want to put it this way: Paul Maurice has caused, with the Rick Bowness hiring, probably a 20 to 30 point shift in the Jets' final point total for the year, and he's probably going to be negative 40 for the Panthers. That is he himself 60 points in differential right there.
Yeah, and I mean you can't really like put it on him, considering there was some changes.
Can we put a lot though?
Oh, for sure. I mean, just as we can put a lot on take a little bit away from Bones and say maybe that this is just the Jets with adequate coaching, that's also a potential reason. But yeah, it's insane to see just the difference both in Florida as well as here in Winnipeg, comparing the two coaches and their body of work. Okay, I have a question for you. Was it a
Yeah.
goal? The interference?
Yeah, it was a goal. Like I think it's this thing is we don't know what goalie interference is. We haven't known what goalie interference is for the last 5 years. We still don't know what it is. Uh I was watching the Pittsburgh broadcast, and they're a pretty homer broadcast, but they said something pretty I think authentic and true. They're like, once a goalie calls it one way, it takes, especially when they count it no goal, it takes an incredible amount to overturn it, from Toronto to change it to a goal. So there is no way, once it was called a no goal, even if he didn't touch him, which he didn't really touch him, and Dumoulin kind of pushed PLD into him, that they were going to overturn that. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, that's a bad challenge, just because the likelihood they're going to overturn it, because no one knows what the rule is. So like, I thought it was a goal. I was more upset about the Scheifele one, even though it was clearly offside, just because of how beautiful it was.
Yeah, that is totally fair. So, okay, so to be clear, you're saying that you think that should have been a goal. Do you think that was a correct challenge to make? Obviously, it didn't end up having much of an effect on the game, because it didn't. But I was having a bit of an argument with my dad. We were texting back and forth, and he just goes, "That's an awful challenge to make. Like, this could be a pivotal moment in the game." Blah blah blah. And I just went, "Calm down. It's not a big deal." So are you on the side of, one, it should have been a goal, and two, you think that that's a good challenge?
I thought it was a bad challenge because I think you could see it on the player's face. Like PLD wasn't like raising his arms up, arguing, coming back to the bench. He kind of knew what was what right away. So I think that you're going to lose that challenge there. And I do also think it's a bad challenge because it's really unlikely you're going to win that challenge. Most, if not all, the momentum is on your side.
Yeah.
So you are handing over an opportunity to the Penguins that you don't really need to. Your team is basically starting to put the vice on the Penguins at that point. I just saw no reason for it. It wasn't like he was down one and that would have put us down two, and you need to make that challenge just because if we don't, game starts to slip away. It wasn't that situation at all. And it wasn't as close, I think, for what it would take to overturn it as what you thought. And he challenged it right away.
Yeah.
There wasn't that like, I'm gonna stall for 15 seconds. Oh, David Riddick's mask is kind of busted. He's gonna skate over. There was none of that like stalling for time either. So I thought it was a bad challenge. It's not the worst challenge in the world because it should have been a goal, but I'll live with it.
It is what it is. Yeah, I personally was on the side of, I didn't think it would be a goal, and I didn't think it should have been a goal. Not because I think necessarily like he specifically interfered with it, but looking at it, Pierre-Luc Dubois enters the crease by his own volition. Yeah, he does kind of get into Tokarski's way, and is a little bit pushed by, I think it was Brian Dumoulin, but I think that regardless of that, I think that once you enter the crease like that, and you put yourself in that position, I don't think that Brian Dumoulin had enough of an effect on Dubois to actually make it so that he was pushed in, kind of thing. And I thought that the challenge was, as you said, kind of tough, considering it takes a lot to turn over a goal once it's considered no goal already. But I also am sitting there going, this could be, if you believe that this is a goal, I don't have an issue with trying to challenge it. But I digress. It didn't really matter in the end.
The silly thing is, had it been ruled a goal on the ice, I think it would have counted. That's the stupid thing about this entire rule.
Yeah, and that is very fair. I definitely see what you're saying there. Alrighty, I don't necessarily, unless you have a specific thing you want to say. I just think that
I have one weird question to ask you.
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead.
Can we talk about Dustin Tokarski's stance? What was what is this? He like hunched over like this like compact, like I played goalie going up. Everything was like, be as big as possible. And he has this weird like hunchback stance. It was the strangest thing I've seen. I don't think I've ever seen him play. I don't recall seeing him play, or at least starting. And I was like, this is absurd and weird.
Mm-hmm. I I I would almost equate it to a bit of a hunchback, but almost like he's about to pounce, like he's like a cat or something, like a tiger. But so like I get maybe that this allows you to kind of block above your shoulders, but then again, you're not really reaching out sideways. Goalie stances are always kind of weird, and it is, I guess, kind of preference, but also, I've seen things about how goalies have changed, certain stances, and that kind of led to their careers being revitalized. I remember specifically there was one with Semyon Varlamov back in the day. His glove hand was very poor, and then he started doing more of a almost like a catcher, like a baseball catcher, where you're kind of holding it in front of your face a little bit more. So yeah, I'm not a goalie expert, but I definitely sat there going, what is this guy doing? It does look a little odd. So I'm glad you brought that up, because it is a very funny point. The one thing I was gonna say, and if you would like to take this and run and talk about him, I'll let you. But I think that it's only fair to mention, I thought that Neil Pionk had a good game. We've been ragging on him a lot. Both on Twitter and here, and I'm sure Nick, who's in the chat, won't love it, because I know that he specifically is on the trade Pionk bandwagon. But hey, maybe this is a game where you see his stock kind of go up around the league. Did you have anything to say on Pionk and what you thought, what you saw from him?
It was a much stronger game from Pionk, and I think the frustration with Pionk that I've had is that I'm kind of expecting that pairing to mirror the Morrissey DeMello pairing, where you have a stay-at-home defenseman, and then your other defenseman can be kind of aggressive and fill the lane and really go for it. And we've seen a lot of tentativeness from Pionk, and we didn't see that tonight. I thought he played. I thought I saw him skating a little more freely. I know that's not like a quantifiable thing, but he seemed pretty open. For those that are really analytically inclined, Micah McCurdy, who runs Hockey Viz, made this the free game. It's usually behind a paywall. And you can actually go look at all the detailed stats, and he keeps stats shift by shift. And you could see how Pionk's deployment, there was a lot more zone exits from the Pionk Dylan pair than what we normally see. And when you have like clean zone exits from that tandem, we're going to see a lot of good results from them. Mm-hmm. I also thought Pionk was getting his shot through better. And that's really if that's true, if Pionk can elevate his game, not a lot, just a little bit, I think that'll be a huge benefit to Winnipeg in the second half, because I like what I see from Schmidt. I think Sandberg is still there's good and bad with him. It's been rough, but if 5 of your 6 defensemen are playing like they should, you're really set up for a good run, especially with how dynamic that top line is.
For sure.
Oof, holy moly, that top line.
Yeah, when it comes to Pionk, again, if you can have 2 pairs of your defense playing well, that's always gonna be a recipe for success just to start with. I am gonna push back a little bit. I think Sandberg's been pretty good. He has had his games here and there, but I think that he's been a breath of fresh air. I almost said that backwards. In regards to that 6th defense spot, I think he's been pretty good. Especially in comparison to Stanley, as Dave Smith says in the chat. There,
no argument there. No argument. But he's been solid. But it's still a little rough. He's a rookie.
Exactly. Yeah. And what I found Pionk did tonight was that, as you were saying, he was, breaking the puck out a lot better. I'm going to steal. I have to give credit. I think it's Sean Reynolds always mentions that Pionk plays his best when he's activating a lot. And tonight was a game where it seemed like he was constantly that 4th forward kind of thing in the play. And he wasn't, flubbing. Yeah, there's been a lot of things recently where we've seen him kind of flub pucks here and there, and it is kind of rough. But I thought tonight he played well, especially on the puck. He wasn't flubbing passes. He was, breaking the puck out nicely. if he is going to stay around, he's a guy who I potentially would love to see, them explore the trade market on. Considering I was looking at Dom Luszczyszyn's player cards today, and his market value is listed at league min, and his surplus value is negative 5.9, meaning he is worth $0. He's not a negative value, but it is what it is. Regardless, if he can, get back to normal and keep playing, because I think that there is something nagging him in his skating. His skating's been a little bit off. But I think that, if he can form his stuff back together, if he keeps playing like he did tonight, I don't see an issue with paying him what we are. But again, it's one game. You can't make all of your decisions based on one game. But it is what it is. I think we're gonna have to wrap it up here already. I'm getting low on my time on Zoom here. I wish we could chat forever. Like, this is great. I've got to have you back on the show again, Kishore. You're a fantastic guest and great at analyzing the game, and such a great mind for hockey here.
Yeah, I'd love to be back. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for all the comments in the chat. My one hope going forward: poor Carson Kuhlman. He had 2 golden opportunities. Get that man a goal. Yeah,
I mean, he had the empty netter the other night, but I would love for him to get his actual goal on a goalie and not have his kind of like Kyle Connor drought like he did at the start of the season where he hadn't scored on a goalie. But hey, maybe that'll come. The Jets have been playing well, and I think he's actually fit in decently well on that third line. He's much better in the bottom 6, that's for sure.
Hey, and we should wrap by just saying this. Your first place Winnipeg Jets.
Incredible. Wow. Again, thank you so much for joining me here tonight, Kishore. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Feel free, please give us a like on the stream. Make sure to follow Kishore on Twitter. What's your handle there? Oh, it's Science Quiche. Of course, give Kishore a follow, give myself a follow at NHL Chunky, Liz Hood on Twitter, and of course, SDPN Sports. Thank you all for tuning in for Game Over Winnipeg. I'll be live back with you guys on Sunday for the Coyotes game. Have yourselves a wonderful evening. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks again for coming out.
Game over! Powered by Sports Interaction.